Sup my dudes, Valk here. Today I'm going to be talking about my tier list for Challenge Rift. I got to make sure to make this clear. Challenge Rift is the only thing in the game that's currently difficult. So I am making a tier list based around it. Whenever infinite leaderboards get added and whenever more modes get added that are basically in-game that need a tier list, I'm going to make a tier list then for them. But right now the only challenging content in the game is Challenge Rift itself. So I'm going to be making a tier list for basically Challenge Rift. And this is my tier list I use on stream. It's pretty much right. The only thing I want to swap around is I want to put Broly as the absolute best unit in the game because people have found a way to cheese and basically make it so you can get Broly out in Challenge Rift. And if you can actually max out bottom path Broly in Challenge Rift, he is going to absolutely stomp everything. It doesn't matter what you have on him. Broly is very, very, very strong to the point where he's probably going to get nerfed pretty hard. So I'm going to let you guys know that right now that Broly's probably the best unit in the game, hands down, but then the rest of this I feel like it's pretty accurate. So I'm going to talk about each one, why they're there, etc. The only one I'd probably move is Jotaro, move him behind Steve, and then I think everything else is pretty accurate. So Broly number one, don't need to tell you why. Tons of damage, hits really hard, etc. And then we get into Madara at number 2. Madara is a very cheap AoE upgrade for top path. It's very cheap to actually reach. It's a full AoE. It allows you to clear and set up your buffs and get him really, really strong. Because in this game, a lot of your damage is carried by buffers. So it's going to allow you to actually be able to clear a lot of earlier waves and potentially maybe resell him later after you save up a bunch of money to go ahead and go bottom path and go into his real damage, which bottom path Madara is where all of his damage is at. Top path is good, but you go into a cone. Bottom path has big AoEs. So you're really going to want to try to go bottom path Madara and for real damage. But for his top path, you're going to just go to upgrade 4 and sit there. He is a very, very, very powerful unit in that regard. Next up, after Madara, we have Rengoku. Rengoku has very, very strong damage. He does take a lot of investment to really see it because he has lower attack stat than the other mythics and he has low range. So you're really going to want a shiny Rengoku with double range traits. You're going to see that come up a couple times. A shiny Rengoku with double range traits is going to absolutely wreck, especially if you have him on an R10 epic relic. He's going to have insane range on his stuff, allowing him to deliver his massive, massive damage, and Rengoku's going to be an absolute beast. I do believe he is definitely worth that spot, and he's super cheap on top of all of it. He's very cheap, so he's able to get a ton of damage on the ground very quickly. Next up is Jotaro. Jotaro is another unit that you're going to need to mythic because he's an epic. You're going to need to mythic him first. You're going to need to shiny him, roll double range traits on him, and then he doubles as a crit monster. He's a very, very strong crit unit, but he also can be a good slow unit because if you have double range traits on him, he has really good range and he has a cost of 2150 to activate his 40% slow. And the way tenacity works in this game, if you guys don't know what tenacity is, the more you stun an enemy, the less effective the stun is. Slows barely have any effect on tenacity, making it so he is just a really effective unit at breaking apart waves and making it easier for your damage to digest. So he is very, 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 very strong. I think he should go after Steve, like I said, but I'm just going to read it the way it is. And next up is Bulma. Bulma is easily, if you use my Wave 0 strat, I included in the video. There's also other strats, so you can go top path Bulma inside Challenge Rift, and that's kind of how people are figuring out how to use Broly. But bottom path Bulma for basically anything else, and Wave 0 bottom path Bulma, you are going to be set. She is going to fill you up with enough money to where you can actually get your main damage, probably to their full AoE potentials if you're using a full AoE one, around wave 5ish, wave 4, wave 5, and that's really good because that's what you need to be able to do challenge with because the early waves are so damn hard. Next up is Steve. Minecraft Steve this high on the list. You guys are gonna be like, what? Basically, his top path, the gas, they apply on-hit effects like Death Note or like Mangekyo Sharingan. They apply on-hit effects. That's really strong, but it's very expensive. So we mostly look at Steve for his bottom path, which he has the best buff in the game. It is a 500% attack buff with a Mythic Ascension bug. It's 250% normally. It's supposed to be 250%. And even at 250%, it is the best buff in the game by a mile. It's not even close. It is a very, very fat buff. And in this game, you just need lots of damage to get downwind because a lot of units have really low SPA already. And then Nami, I believe the only other thing I do with this tier list is after Steve here is I would move Nami from B all the way up to S. And the reason for that is the stacking bug. If you stack up multiple Nami buffs, it just goes absolutely insane. So I would move Nami from B to S is the only change I'd make. And yeah, we're going to talk about Nami now because she needs to be S tier. So Nami, like I said, from here to here, this is just a Gazo picture, so I can't actually move it. But Nami needs to be S tier because her buff, one, it self-stacks at different upgrade levels, like I showed in my other video. And two, it makes it so she has a full AoE range increasing buff with crit rate, crit damage. It is one of the best buffs in the game. It's super, super cheap to actually reach to. She is just insanely strong. She's really, really, really damn good. Nami is very, very good. Next up is Sakuya. Now this is just going based off what people told me because I haven't had the opportunity to actually use Sakuya yet, but I do know she is a buffer with good damage. I know I believe she buffs range, SPA, and crit, which is going to be really good because range stacking will stack with Nami even after the Nami bug is fixed. It'll stack with Nami to make exponential range stacking because range stacking is a percentage increase. So it's going to be really good in that regards, and the fact that she can do good damage on top of it makes it so she's pretty valuable in my opinion. She's going to be really good to have because, like I said, having that range and SPA buff on top of it is going to allow basically your full AoEs to cover the whole map, which is the whole goal, because you want to be able to hit the enemies constantly because it gets so tanky, you need to be able to take them down quickly. So next up at the top of A tier, we have Whitebeard. Whitebeard is insane damage. He's just very expensive, like Broly, but he doesn't reach the full upgrade as quickly as Broly, or the full AoE as quickly as Broly, so he's not able to take care of really big waves very quickly. Once he gets his full AoE on the bottom path, which is the 5th upgrade, he is going to absolutely destroy everything. He is a very, very strong unit once you hit that full AoE, but it just takes too much to get there, so he's knocked down to A tier. Next up is Sakura. Sakura is very cheap damage and a full AoE attack buffer. Really, really, really damn strong. Sakura, I put Sakura in A tier, the second best of A tier, because she's able to deliver, or she's able to do some strats to where you can basically, there's a couple reasons. Her being 70 cost makes it so if there's a cannoneer coming and they're going to stun your main damage, you can use her as a meat shield. If you just need to get like a vampire, or if you want to use her with a vampire mask, if you have a high rank vampire mask, like a rank 10 epic vampire mask, you can use it on her, max out her attack stat, max out her damage wise, and actually like full send her on some like strength passives or strength traits, and she's going to be able to actually like summon really high attack value vampires from the vampire mask very early on in the waves, and that's going to be really, really valuable in later challenge rift stages. So there's a lot of things you can do with Sakura. She's actually like really, really multifaceted. She's one of the most useful units in the game to just have because she just does so many different things, and she's so useful in so many different situations because of how cheap her placement is. So next up is Sanji. Sanji is, you're never using Sanji damage path, I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of cheeks because it's single target into AoE. I don't think it's very good because by the time you get the full AoE, the game's already over. So Sanji, bottom path, he is buff and money, and that's really good because you're going to be able to increase the resources available to you as well as buff your main DPS, which will stack on with other buffs on this list, which is really, really damn strong. Shinobu, everyone knows what Shinobu does, I'm pretty sure, so I don't think I need to go into it too much, but I will. And Shinobu is a very, very strong buffer bottom path, and then a really good slow top path. Just super solid all in all. Next up is Dio. I actually want to make one other change. I want to move Byakuya. I have Byakuya currently at the beginning of B tier. I want to move him up over Dio in A tier because Byakuya's main weakness is his cost, which Whitebeard also has. But Byakuya, if you get him mythic, you get him shiny, etc., and you use something to like Key of Kings or whatever to go ahead, R10 Key of Kings to reduce the cost on his top path, he becomes very good. So with Byakuya's top path, he just turbos out damage in full AoE because he's doing an AoE, he's doing a single hit, and he's doing a bunch of attacks all at once, functioning independently. I believe Byakuya being over Dio makes a lot of sense. But next up we have Dio. Dio just does tons of damage, time stop, etc. Really, really, really damn good. Yeah, I'm gonna put Byakuya right here in front of Dio, and yeah, Dio right here. Next up is Sanji. I can't wait for the people who like basically comment without watching the video and look at the list and be like, why is this, like, why Nami B tier? Why Byakuya B tier? They're good. Not knowing I moved them. But next up is Sanji. Sanji, once again, is a full AoE, but he's a very cheap full AoE. He's crit rate and crit damage based, which means he synergizes really well with Nami, and Nami should be up here, like I said. So him being so cheap allows you to start just buffing him full of steroids as soon as possible, and getting that really, really high attack stat and getting that full AoE running. So if you actually full send him, prestige him a couple times, get him some really good traits, and get him on a really, really good artifact, he is going to absolutely stomp. Next up is Goku, the start of B tier. Goku at the start of B tier, the reason Goku is so low is because his main strength is being a really strong line unit. And lines are not good in Challenge Rift because you are going to get overrun. You need full AoE. Full AoEs are absolutely 100% necessary. You're not going to get very far otherwise. Naruto is a really good unit, actually. He's really, really good whenever he's turned into a mythic. It's just he's pretty expensive, and the power you get and the AoE size, etc., that you get for the price you're paying for Naruto, not too good in my opinion. Same reason here with Ichigo. Ichigo can hit outrageously high attack stats, but the thing is, right, with Ichigo to remember is that he has no range at all. So he is just not going to be very good in that regards in the terms of just having range, because he's not going to be able to basically hit the enemies enough times as they're pushing by. You can get him with double range traits. You could use Nami stacking, which whenever that gets fixed, that would die. But at the end of the day, there's just better things you can invest into and you'll get more value out of it. Next up is Harry Potter at the end of B tier. Harry Potter, just a single target. He can go into some CC passes, or like his bottom path, I believe, is CC based, but it's not like crazy good. It's just okay. And for the cost, whenever I could just spend 2150 on Jotaro and get a really good cone AoE CC, I think that Harry Potter is good where he is. He's good at cleanup duty if you actually like really invested into him, but there's just better units. Like I said, just full AoE is just absolutely the best thing that you can have. So you really want to go these full AoE units. Next up is Sneaky Clone at the beginning of C tier. Sneaky Clone actually has a really good kit. He has good damage, just his pricing is a little too high to be able to actively use inside Challenge Rift. If you wanted the full send Sneaky Clone, you could probably do stuff with him, but he's just, once again, pricing is just too much, and Challenge Rift is all about how strong you are early on. Same with Aaron here. Aaron has a lot of pricing in his top path. He gets very expensive very quickly, but he has a lot of damage behind it as well. So if you want to use Aaron, then yeah. But most of his damage is behind that top path, and it is very pricey. Next up is Darth Vader. Darth Vader actually has a lot of damage, but it's locked behind the final upgrades of both paths. So you have to basically get to the final upgrade of both paths to be able to really utilize Darth Vader to his full capabilities, which is not ideal in Challenge Rift where you need to be strong very, very early on. So Darth Vader, in my opinion, is probably like one of the worst options you can use other than Luke. Luke just has an awful kit. I'm not going to lie to you. His numbers are fine. Everything's fine from what I can see. Just his kit sucks. His rocks feel clunky, and then he has the smallest AoE circle I've ever seen in this game. His AoE circle on top path is awful for a 4 SPA. You are going to bleed no matter how much you invest in him. He's literally not usable. Just don't use Luke. Don't use Luke Skywalker. So next up is artifacts. We're going to look at these all at rank 1. The only thing I want to change is Dragon Radar because I'm considering this for Challenge Rift. So Dragon Radar, just bloop, get rid of it. Put that down in D tier with the rest of these because you're not going to need these. So at S tier, we have best one in the game probably is going to be Death Note. I'm going to talk about some of them at rank 5 because they do need rank 5 to be really, really good. But Death Note at rank 1 is going to be one of the best options you can have in Challenge Rift because you're going to go against enemies that have multi-millions of HP. I've seen upwards of 50 million of HP on an enemy. So having that 7% execution that you can get at a rank 1 Death Note is really, really nice. Next up, I'm actually going to move another thing. I want to move Hat of the CEO to S tier because this with Bulma enables the whole Challenge Rift strategy. So Hat of the CEO at rank 1, rank 2, whatever you want to consider it, with Bulma on the Wave 0 strategy is really, really, really strong. It's going to enable you to basically beat Challenge Rift if you set that up. It's really, really damn good. So next up is Mangekyo Sharingan. We're going to talk about this one specifically at R5. R1 is still really good, but R5, this is insane on full AoE units. But this is going to be the start of A tier, by the way. Full AoE units with the Mangekyo Sharingan are going to be able to absolutely destroy Challenge Rift because they're going to constantly proc Genjutsu and making the enemy walk backwards for 2 to 3 seconds and applying really high DOT Black Flame ticks. This is a very, very, very powerful relic to have. Really, really damn good. Next up is the Key of Kings. Key of Kings is very, very, very good. It's basically going to reduce your placement cost and reduce your upgrade cost, making it so you can use units like Broly much better or much easier, and you're going to have an easier time going through the upgrade paths of the very expensive units that have the massive amounts of damage. So Key of Kings definitely the second of A tier. Now we're going to move the B tier. I actually kind of want to move the All Might Hair Strand up to A tier because it's way, way better than I'm giving it credit for. But basically, if you manage to get a Primal All Might Hair Strand, it's going to do a ton of damage on proc. It's going to do 100% of your unit's attack as an extra hit. And is it like 100 bonus damage? I don't forget exactly how it works. But then you're also going to knock the enemies back. And it has a cooldown of about like 30-40 seconds. So it's basically like an active. It sounds really bad, but it's actually really, really, really damn good. It's really useful, and it helps you deal a bunch of additional damage whenever you do proc it. Like I said, every 40 seconds or so. It's really, really strong. Next up, we're going to take the Rinnegan, we're going to move it up to the top of B tier, and we're going to leave Vamp Mask where it is, and we're going to talk about all the rest. Actually, we're going to take Rinnegan, move it up, and then we're going to move the Uta Uta Fruit right behind it. So Rinnegan, next up at the top of B tier. This keeps you from getting stunned, basically, which is really, really valuable. And the percentage increase on stats that it has, it feeds into also crit rate and everything. So that's really, really good. So Rinnegan, in my opinion, is like the first unit of B tier here, or the first relic of B tier. Next up on B tier is the Uta Uta Fruit. It is really, really damn strong. We are going, whenever you use it on like Nami, it's going to make it so she can buff up the crit rate of your units even more. And she's going to be able to make it so like instead of 12.5% crit rate, you're getting like 17% crit rate basically. It's really, 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 really good. It buffs up the effects of buffs really, really well. The Uta Uta Fruit is nuts. I actually might move it all the way up to S tier. That's how good it is. But for now, for simplicity's sake, I'm just going to keep it there. It is really, really strong. We're going to move Vampire Mask down to C tier and Nimbus down to C tier as well. Hollow Mask and Vampire Mask, these kind of go in the same thing. Vampire Mask takes too much investment before you start seeing it being any good because you need to bleed from it. So this is basically dead until high ranks. Hollow Mask, once again, too much investment for it to be any good. It's basically dead until you reach high ranks. Nimbus Cloud, once again, basically dead for it to be any, or basically too much investment for it to be any good. So it's dead until high ranks. You see the you see the thought process here. Next we have Dragon, well, we can put Dragon Radar in C as well. Dragon Radar, actually, Dragon Radar is going to go in D. I'm lying. This is a Challenge Rift tier list specifically. So Dragon Radar goes in D. Sukuna Finger, we're going to move up to C, and basically Philosopher's Stone, we're going to move up to C as well. So Sukuna's Finger, we're going to move to here, and Philosopher's Stone, we're going to move to here as well. Sukuna's Finger, basically the DOT of it is only usable by 2 units in the game, so it's only used by Rengoku and Shinobu right now until Sukuna gets added. I know Sukuna's probably going to do DOT as well. It's literally his finger. So yeah, this is kind of just useless at the moment. So this can either go D or C tier. It doesn't really matter. Philosopher's Stone, we're going to move it to C tier because it does take a while to rank up. But if it stacks out at 100, if it caps out at 100 kills, you are definitely able to reach 100 kills very easily inside Challenge Rift. But you do want a lot more early power that the other relics provide. So C tier is definitely where you want to be. So next up in the last tier then where we're at is we have the Dragon Radar and the Hyogoku. And the reason for these being the very bottom, everyone's gonna be like, these are broken. Hyogoku is very good and Dragon Radar is very good, but the reason they're in the very bottom is because by the time they activate, the game is over. You have either won or lost by the time these things come up. So they do not matter. They are going to be the absolute very lowest, yeah. And before people ask what this bug is, it's basically Dragon Radar was supposed to limit your units of 1 placement, but they didn't. So now you can place 4 of them instead and have fun with that, which a lot of people already figured out. You just stick it on Sakura and just place 4 down. But yeah, in my opinion, that's basically it. Where you have like, I'll probably remake this image at a later date for my stream. But this is my current tier list. Just rewind for everything that I said, but move everything around like I said, because yeah, everything goes in different spots now. Because I've played enough, I'm almost at Challenge Rift 100. I can tell you guys exactly what's good for it, but yeah. anyways, that's basically my tier list for Challenge Rift. Hopefully I helped you guys out. Thank you guys for watching. Catch you guys in the next one. Peace.